What's up gamers, DreamcastGuy here, talking today about Battlefield 5, and specifically its newly introduced Battle Royale mode called Firestorm. Now this game is basically something that's had a lot of different controversies surrounding it. After a rocky launch and some really questionable updates, it's a game that's just still sort of struggling to find a really hardcore fan base, but I've tried to be very open-minded about it. I've gone back and actually checked out a lot of the different patches just to see how it's trying to grow and evolve, and I can say that I have to give a huge credit to the developers. This is a game that really managed to expand itself and evolve in some nice directions. I actually like the multiplayer of Battlefield 5 quite a bit now. It's cool to be able to just run around in such a realistic version of World War II and see people constantly getting blown apart and fight for control points. It's very, very neat. But my worry going into Firestorm was that this ultra realism would end up being a detriment. Part of the thing that makes Battle Royale so fun, in my opinion, and I do say this as somebody who's played thousands of hours of it somehow, is the fact that I think that Battle Royale is best when it's very, very lighthearted and quirky. I think that things like Fortnite became popular simply because they are so easy to pick up and understand, and things like Apex Legends have managed to completely excel in the market by being different and being catchy and having something that really kind of just grabs your eyes visually. When it comes to Battlefield 5, this is a game that seems to be just trying to play it ultra straight. This is just your same old Battle Royale, but with the biggest twist being that obviously it's in the ancient past. So let's just take a look at a couple rounds of it. I've been playing it a bunch today, and I'm very, very mixed because I think that a lot of stuff in the balancing was very, very intelligently done, but it still doesn't really come together in a way that I think is really, really good. On the surface, it appears to just be your standard Battle Royale. It's still got the giant ring that's slowly closing in and trying to kill everybody over the course of 30 minutes. It's still got randomized loot that just gets stronger the more rare it is, with things like green being decent, blue being your more powerful weapons, and of course pink being the strongest stuff, and typically the gear that has things like crazy sniper scopes or extended clips on it. But all of this seems to be totally in service of trying to make the game ultra brutally tough. It seems like this game is trying to go a little bit too hard into the idea of every single mistake needs to be badly punished. I think that this game is cool. I really think that it's great when it comes to giant sandboxes and when you're trying to just push points, but when you get hit a single time and fall over dead in a Battle Royale mode, sometimes you will actually end up staring at loading screens more than you're in matches. So let's just check this out. So as you can see right here, I'm actually running around in squads. You can play solo or you can play in these teams of 4, and I really have to say it's really not fun by yourself. I tested it extensively, but it's one of those things where it's nice to have people to back you up and revive you even if you can't communicate with them on microphone, simply because at least then you have people you can sort of have next to you. You can have people that are coordinating with you and obviously just help double team if somebody's about to ambush you. Well, in these matches you really notice the fact that they have done some really good wise choices. Like one of the biggest things that personally I was very, very worried about is vehicles. So Battlefield is obviously a series that prides itself on having realistic military everything. I mean, there's crazy vehicles all over the place, and I was honestly quite worried that there would just be tanks stampeding all over the map and be invincible, and that is not the case. So first off, vehicles are actually pretty rare. I mean, you can get like a convertible speed car or something and cruise that around, but you're gonna get shot pretty quick. The things that are actually like armored personnel carriers or the super heavy duty mortar firing launcher tanks, those things are actually almost nowhere. I barely ever saw them, and when you do get in them, they actually have limited ammo and also limited fuels. You can only drive so far. It is possible to actually loot more of this stuff. You can actually find like vehicle ammo and vehicle gas, but even then it basically makes it where you have to be very conscious about the fact that you're trying to use vehicles. But to also counteract that, they're loud, so everybody sees you all the time, and secondary, there is anti-tank gear everywhere. I mean, there are rocket launchers and landmines all over the place. But that's something I actually like about this. Battlefield 5 really tries to constantly just to load you down with gear. I mean, I think that one of the biggest detriments to some Battle Royales is the fact that as soon as you land, you die 99% of the time. If you don't find a gun in seconds, you actually just get slaughtered before you can ever get armed. I will say, I have never died before I found a gun. Ever. Literally in all my hours of play, not a single time did I have trouble finding weapons. Every house has at least one gun in it, and if it doesn't have a gun, it's probably got rocket launcher or something like smoke grenades, or maybe a bouncing Betty so you can actually place a bomb somewhere, or sticky dynamite. Every single building has something useful in it. If you're really desperate to try and get yourself geared up, you're not exactly going to be screwed just by bumping into a random apartment complex. With that being said, I do think that the gear itself, I did have a little bit of trouble with it. Just trying to figure it out did have a little bit of a learning curve. Not the guns themselves, I'm already very practiced with those since I've put so much time into the multiplayer. My issues came down to trying to figure out the healing system. It's very weird. You basically pick up med kits and then you jam yourself with a syringe and it slowly heals you. And then the other thing is that you can get basically a special vest that has armor plates in it, and then you have to find individual armor plates to put into the vest itself. It's sort of like the idea of a shield healing potion, but instead by putting in more of this pieces of metal. And it's an idea that's kind of interesting, but is just so slow. I mean, by far my biggest problem with Firestorm in general is just the fact that I wish we didn't die so fast. No matter how much gear you have, no matter how many armor plates you're setting on top of your eyeballs, if you get hit, you are going to be dropping like a bad habit. I mean, seriously, it seems like every person I killed dropped in a matter of seconds. I mean, most people would die in less than 1 second. By the time I actually got a chance to even process them, sometimes they would be done breathing. So it's one of those things where this is a very Twitch-focused shooter. It is about who manages to react faster more than anything else. I mean, there is a little bit of strategy to it. One of the interesting things about this is that they actually put every single weapon in this mode. So you actually can pick up stuff like the flare guns that call in airstrikes. So right here I see a guy and I'm like, okay, I know that he's hiding in this area. So I decided to shoot a flare at this house and start calling in some crazy airstrikes that just start blowing the entire place apart. And by the time I actually managed to wrap around the back, go through a window and shoot him, he was completely screwed because he was just so distracted by all this explosions and destruction that he just didn't really even have a time to really process the fact that I was there and I managed to completely decimate him. And this happens constantly. It kind of makes it where it's cool that you can just blow apart the entire map, and it's cool watching everything get completely disassembled because apparently everything is built out of freaking paper mache, but eventually you kind of come down to the point where I wish that things were just a little bit slower, and I can't believe I'm saying that, but really, the time to kill is far too swift. It just feels a little bit aggravating when you're trying to just survive that last match. I mean, sometimes I would actually be the final person standing where I'm down to the last 8 people and everybody is just camped out in a house aiming a shotgun at a doorway because it's all about who manages to see each other first. So in real life, I actually like to play laser tag. Even though I'm kind of an old man, I really think it's fun to go and play laser tag with a bunch of my friends on a Friday night. And something I've always liked about laser tag is the fact that you run in there, you shoot some people, you get some tags, and eventually you either run out of health or run out of ammo, you run back to the base and recharge. And this kind of frustrates me because it does sort of remind me of if I got hit once in laser tag and I actually had to leave the arena, it would suck. I would never pay for that. Now obviously this is a free mode. If you already own Battlefield 5, congratulations, this mode is now unlocked. Just install an update and there it is. I just wish that it was a little bit more refined. This time to kill when you're trying to play a massive multiplayer map and people are in tanks and flying around planes, that makes sense. You want it so people are constantly just running into the battlefield and getting mowed down. But in Battle Royale, it feels a little bit weird to spend 20 minutes hiding in a house and get hit. Almost every single kill I ever got in this game is that I managed to see somebody before they saw me. It doesn't feel skill-based so much as luck-based. Even after having played this all morning, I don't really want to go back, and I feel kind of bad about saying that, but it's one of those things where where I feel like this needs some big time updates. I feel like they need to really just tweak it a tiny bit more. The guns are great. Being able to just swing these weapons around, that's cool. I think that the scopes are good. The server code is nice. I didn't have a single bit of lag, and just cruising around in a vehicle feels really, really strong. It's nice to have a game that feels like teamwork really is your greatest weapon. But at the end of the day, it's still just one of those games that feels like it's lacking the actual heart. It feels like it's trying so hard to just to be Apex or be one of these other battle royales. It seems like they definitely just threw this in at the last minute with the already established ingredients. Having only 64 players on the map, that was a good choice. I think being able to get so much loot and so much gear and have time to actually pick stuff up before the real fights break out, that is nice. Being able to actually shoot at people while you're on the ground, while you're like sitting there down but not out, that is nice. There's a lot of really cool tweaks to this that I think are fascinating ideas that I do hope get explored further. But as it stands, this is just not a mode that I think sells the game itself. I just want to say, if you're somebody who's actually looking at Battlefield 5 and you're thinking about purchasing it now because it's gotten so cheap, I would actually recommend it. Maybe don't pick it up just for this Battle Royale mode, but it's become such a competent multiplayer game that even if Firestorm isn't your cup of tea, it's a game that managed to really grow to impress us all. Well, this has just been my thoughts on Firestorm and its Battle Royale functionality. What do you think of it? Have you gotten a chance to actually play this Battle Royale at all? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.